Your brain is broken, not in the way you might think, not from stress, not from too much screen time, but in a way that was built in before you were born. Right now, somewhere in the back of your mind, an ancient alarm system is running. It has been running your whole life. And most of what it warns you about doesn't exist. You feel it when your name gets called unexpectedly in a meeting. You feel it when you send a message and the other person goes quiet. You feel it when you're lying in bed and your mind decides that right now is the perfect time to replay every awkward moment from the last 6 years. That tight chest, that sudden spike of alertness, that low hum of dread that follows you into rooms where nothing dangerous is happening. That is your brain's threat detection system, and it has absolutely no idea what century it's in. Here's what the science actually says about why this happens. And the answer is far stranger than you might expect. Your brain contains a small, almond-shaped cluster of neurons called the amygdala. Neuroscientists sometimes call it the brain's smoke detector. Its only job, is to scan the environment for anything that could harm you. It sends an immediate signal to your hypothalamus, which activates your adrenal glands, which flood your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline within milliseconds. Your heart rate climbs, your muscles tense, your vision narrows. You are physiologically ready to fight or run from a predator, even if the thing that triggered all of this was an unanswered email. Researcher LeDoux, who spent decades mapping the amygdala's pathways, described this as a low road, a fast, crude neural shortcut that bypasses your rational prefrontal cortex entirely. The amygdala doesn't think. It reacts. And it reacts based on a threat library that was written tens of thousands of years ago. For the vast majority of human existence, roughly 300,000 years, your ancestors lived in small groups on open landscapes. Their threats were immediate and physical predators, rival groups, falling from heights, starvation, being abandoned by the tribe. Every single one of those threats had something in common. They were visible, present, and resolved quickly. Either the lion caught you or it didn't. Either the tribe accepted you or it cast you out. Either you found food or you didn't. In that world, a hair-trigger alarm system was not a bug. It was the most important feature your brain had. A false alarm, reacting to a shadow that turned out to be a rock, cost you almost nothing. A missed alarm, failing to react to a shadow that turned out to be a leopard, cost you everything. Evolution, ruthlessly and over millennia, favored the brains that panicked first and verified later. That is the brain you inherited. But here is what changed your environment. In the last 10,000 years, a geological eye blink compared to the 300,000 years that shaped your neural architecture, humans built cities, agriculture, writing, institutions, laws, economies, and the internet. The physical predators largely disappeared. The tribe became a city of millions of strangers. Food became something you ordered from an app. Your amygdala received none of these memos. Research on what psychologist Seligman and his colleagues called preparedness theory suggests that the human brain arrives preloaded with sensitivities to certain categories of threat, specifically the ones that were lethal to your ancestors: snakes, heights, angry faces, sudden loud sounds, social exclusion. Notice what is not on that list of declined meeting invitation. A passive-aggressive comment in a group chat, a performance review, and yet your amygdala treats all of those with the same electrical urgency as a predator in the grass. Because from the inside, from the ancient, wordless perspective of your threat detection system, social rejection and physical danger activate nearly identical pathways. A landmark study by researcher Eisenberger at UCLA used neuroimaging to scan the brains of participants who were made to feel socially excluded during a simple computer game. The brain regions that lit up the same ones that activate when you experience physical pain. Your brain, at a neural level, does not clearly distinguish between a broken bone and being left out of a group conversation. This is why a critical comment from a stranger on the internet can ruin your entire afternoon. This is why public speaking produces more reported fear than death in many surveys. This is why you can lie in a warm, safe bed surrounded by no actual threat whatsoever, and your brain will still find something to be terrified about. Because for your amygdala, The social world is a survival environment. Exclusion once meant death. Status once determined your access to food and protection. Your reputation in the group was quite literally the difference between living and dying. The result is a mismatch, one of the defining features of modern human experience. Your body is running ancient survival software in a world that has moved on without updating the code. Neurologist Damasio called this kind of mismatch a somatic marker gone haywire. Bodily signals calibrated for one environment being applied to another. You feel the same physiological cascade, whether you're being chased by a predator or presenting slides to 12 people in a conference room. The content has changed entirely. The machinery has not. And here is the counterintuitive twist that most people miss entirely. Your anxiety is not a malfunction. It is a feature operating exactly as designed, in a context it was never designed for. Psychiatrist Nesse, one of the architects of evolutionary medicine, has argued for decades that trying to eliminate anxiety entirely misses the point. The alarm is doing its job. What has changed is the environment feeding it. The anxiety you feel before a difficult conversation, the dread before a presentation, the low-level unease that follows you through an ordinary Tuesday. These are not signs that something is wrong with you. They're signs that you are carrying a very old brain in a very new world. So what does this mean for your daily life? It means that the next time your chest tightens over something that objectively cannot harm you, a notification, a silence, a social slight, your brain isn't broken. It's working perfectly for a world that no longer exists. It means the cognitive strategies that actually help with modern anxiety, labeling the emotion, reappraising the threat, building genuine social connection, were precisely because they engage the prefrontal cortex, the newer, reasoning part of your brain, manually overriding the ancient alarm that fired too fast and too hard. It means that the feeling of being irrationally afraid is one of the most rational things your species ever evolved. Your ancestors survived because their brains panicked early and often. Every moment of disproportionate dread you experience is, in a strange and uncomfortable way, evidence of an unbroken chain of survival stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. You are here because your ancestors panicked, and now their alarm lives in you, scanning a world of notifications and performance reviews for leopards that are no longer there.